last name or just first?
We'll appreciate it if you give both first.
It's not going to help you. It's a very common name. My name is Tara Brown. I live at 903.5 South Center Street in Bloomington. Sorry. There are a couple of things I promised to be quick, and also I don't have a choice. Critical race theory. I don't know how to say this in a nice way. It's excruciatingly boring. It's painfully boring. It is dense theory. It is high-level graduate education. What's happening, diversity and inclusion, is not critical race theory, because critical race theory is, and you alluded to this, oh, wonderful, by the way. It is specifically examining, from a very specific lens, the way that race plays out in law, in formal institutions. It's boring. It's useful in some contexts, but it's not being taught to your kids in school because they would riot and eat the teachers alive. It is the worst. I read it. When they go to high school, I mean not high school, if they're being taught that in high school, they're taking AP classes and they're going to graduate from college a year early. Be grateful, it's very expensive. I promise it's not what you think it is. It exists, it's out there, but it's not quite what you think it is. I have so many books on this from the master's degree I failed to get. It's boring. I understand your fear about sex ed and children. I do. I'm going to share something that's super embarrassing for me, and it's weird that it's embarrassing. But the first time another little boy thought it would be funny to push me up against the wall at school and jam his hands down my pants and cram his fingers in my vagina, I was 7. And I didn't have the words to express what happened to me. I didn't know how to tell my mom why I was afraid to go to school. I learned those words. And I didn't grow up in a conservative household. I grew up in a liberal household. I grew up in a household where I was taught words for my body. I grew up in a household where I was taught that sex is with someone you love and that it's private. I grew up in a household where I was taught that I should keep myself safe. And if someone grabs me up the stairs, I should scream. But they did not teach me what would happen at my school to me. But I learned those words. And when I was 12 and I was sitting in a bookstore and a guy pulled down his pants and masturbated, I learned that word too. And when I was 14, I was in junior high, and the boy thought it'd be funny to come behind me and pretend he was fucking me and tell everyone I was a whore. I learned that too. And when I was in high school and 2 of my friends were pregnant, I learned that too. And when I graduated from high school, and one of the girls that I went to school with was raped by one of her teachers, and when she went up to accept her diploma, and people booed her, I learned that too. I understand it's so scary to teach your children sex words, and they develop at different times and different rates. We live in a world where girls start to menstruate at 9 years old. It's terrifying, I understand, but they have to know these words. They have to know these terms because it will protect them when they are hurt. And if you're worried about me, I'm fine. Life is fine. But I understand why you're scared. I swear to God I do. I understand why you're afraid of communism. But the reason I'm going to tell you that is because I'm pretty far fucking left. Because what you call a Democrat is way off in the distance, and a little bit further in the distance and beyond the horizon is left of a Democrat for me. I understand why communism is scary because we have all seen what happens when it goes really wrong. We've seen it happen. But it is not what you think it is. It can be different. Just like the things here can be different. Socialism can be different. We can have things that are better, that work for us as individuals, as a nation. And I know that it's hard to send your kids to school and not know who's talking to them and what the hell they're saying and if it makes any sense. And you know that your kid is different from that kid and that kid and that kid. And that the book that's fine for that one is going to give your kid nightmares. But we have to try.
I'm not going to try.
We have to try to see what we can do to make it work so that we protect them. Because, and this is the worst part I'm going to tell you, and I promise I'll be done. I've worked with disturbed children. I've worked with children sentenced to the institution I worked at in a different state. This is where I worked. That at 12 were sentenced there because they raped other children and dogs and dead animals. Because they do that. It's rare. It's horrible. And those kids, when they come in, when you dig at them, they talk about what happened to them that they didn't talk about because they were so fucking little. Excuse my language. I understand We can have nuance, we can have time, we can discuss things, but we have to have ways for them
Well,
to be able to
please
say
wrap
the
it up.
words.
Time.
Thank you so
10
much for your
minutes.
time.